this slow. Hey, I'm Lynn Serrano with The Real and Raw with Lynn and Brian. But who are you?
I'm Brian Kelm. Happy to be
Hey,
here.
yay! Thank you
I
for
was
being
I was
here.
working on my pantomiming of swimming.
There, uh, we're still two little fish out of the water.
I just think of the Little Mermaid or Finding Nemo. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Oh, yeah. I think the fact that our topic yesterday with what's one way to disrupt an area of your life and taking action. What's that mean to you, Brian? I mean, how would you,
Well,
what have you done to disrupt?
first of all, you got to cut off all the noise around you. Like, and this isn't meant to be a bad thing or perceived as bad, but there's some people in everybody's lives that they're there because you allow them, not because they offer you anything or they contribute to your life, right? If anything, they take away from your life and challenge you on things. That's why you're unsure of where you need to be. So taking action, it could be anything from the mental real estate that you get rid of that you don't need to have there, all the way to the physical activity of doing something, So, but disrupting it says, I'm taking a stand for something else. I am no longer going to be influenced by this anymore. That's what disrupting it is. And then you create a different path.
I agree. And I'm finding that this year, and I love the structure that we have this show after my other show, because it's forcing me to make block time management so much better so that I can disrupt the things that were disrupt. I'm having neurological things disrupting me from doing the things that are keeping me from where I want to be. So I thank you for being in my life just because of that.
Absolutely.
And I thank you that you allowed me to be in it to disrupt. I can't say the word disrupt today. You
Disrupt,
see, I
disrupt,
mask my
disrupt.
accent. Disrupt. It's like one of those things. It's like if I listen to how I say the words because I masked my accent so much, if I don't realize I haven't practiced the word, I'm in between that old accent and then I've got a lot of Canadian friends, so I've picked up a lot of Canadian.
Yeah, Sandy's
Uh,
joining us from
uh,
Ontario. She's with us.
yes, I
Hey,
picked up a
Sandy.
lot of Canadian habits from my Canadian friends that I love so much. Like, hey, I mean, I can't help it. So, anyhow, today's topics here are
Yeah,
you willing to pay the price in
am I?
life?
Yeah. I mean, anything that you want to do in life, there's a price to pay. Now, well, I can't speak for everybody, but when I think of price, I think of dollars, and that is furthest from what I'm talking about. Or what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of your time. There's people that you move on to, the difference of time management or routine or what. There's no such thing, Sandra, as time management. There's self management. There's hundreds of thousands of books out there on time management, but time management doesn't exist. It's not like we can say, hey, okay, 12:04 Central Standard Time, stop.
Well, some people do. That's how they do it.
But time is finite. You can't stop time, but how you react to the time and what you do with it, that's what we have a choice over. You know?
You see, distinction and differentiate. That. Thank you for clarifying that.
So, Sandra, you're correct. Is that, are you willing to pay the price? And what that is, that could be time, that could be investment, that could be commitment. It could be, giving up, a point of view that stop being around people that are not good for you. Whatever that is, are you willing to pay that price? And that price, it could be a different place in life. It could be a different path. It could be just speaking up where you normally wouldn't.
So,
That's the price.
so can I ask you,
Yeah,
in your life, what are you willing to pay the price with? I mean, that would be a perfect example for the
sure,
audience, your perception on it. So what do you think?
sure. It's a series of things. It's to be vulnerable. It's to be transparent. It's willing to be by myself, feeling like I'm on an island. To develop the skills, controversy. People that don't understand. right? So then they're a little bit cautious, or, you know, because especially if somebody is going to stand out from and to do something different, they have to be willing to have other people that are willing to look at them differently and be okay with that, right? Let's see here, Tom. What did Tom say?
Tom?
Time is only relative to the vision in your why. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, here's
Thank
the
you,
thing.
Tom.
I'm not a believer in time. I would rather say, like, okay, the commitment I'm putting in, the time frame that I want to achieve that by, right? And so, and then that's where you get into the whole discussion about efficiency and, hey, I'm really busy, but are you productive, right? You know, because if you don't get anything done, what's the point? What does time have to matter? So,
Yeah, because I mean, are you giving to your desires and to your mission, or to your whatever, your dream, whatever, you know, you've got to give it that into. And good example, like you said, like if somebody wants to make so much money in sales or goals or financial thing, you need to give something up. What are you willing to pay? What price are you willing to pay to get that? I mean, is that, you know, of value to you? So I mean, that would be a good example, wouldn't it?
yeah, that would definitely be one of them. And I think that one of the common things across, you know, looking at this is who you're going to just have to kind of maybe drift away in your life, right? Is
Yeah.
that every rung of the ladder you go on life, you're going to run into new people that are for that, right? Where you want to be. And it doesn't mean anything's wrong with the people that were there, but you're emerging into somebody else. Doesn't mean you shun those people or get rid of them out of your life. But where you need to be is not where they are, right? And you should not have to justify why you're heading in a different direction, you know, because that backtracks you. You should not have to justify what you want to do in life, as long as you're not making anybody wrong, you know?
And you know, I love that you bring this up, because next week, and our guests don't understand or don't know yet, but you and I talked quickly that I'm looking forward to talking to you more about relationships.
Yep.
So we may want to bring this up later.
Absolutely.
As far as relationships, because next month is Valentine's Day. So I think it's a true important thing to talk about relationships. So I'm excited to see, as far as the relationships, taking that a little bit deeper starting next week.
Yep.
And so Tom says here,
You're
paying a price
for either decision. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to do here. Is we're trying to stir up the mind, the pot, so that when you need a coach, maybe you can go talk to Tom.
Yeah. And see, a couple other things that come to mind too is that the unknown, right? If you're willing to pay the price and you tell yourself that, and then you go out in the world and do it, you don't know what it's going to look like. And to some people, that's fearful. To other people, they love that because they get to carve out that space. They get to determine right now what it's going to look like down the road. And
right. And
the more your mind is open to what that is, the more you're going to allow yourself to be surprised when it actually happens.
especially if you're looking for a coach to put those questions in your mind. And you've had some really good coaches, correct?
Yeah.
That have helped you with that?
Absolutely. You know,
so
but you have to be willing to stretch. I mean, you have to be, you know, like to be coachable, right? Is that there's, I mean, from some of my studies in Landmark Worldwide and other things, it's like, it's a very clear, distinctive question. Are you willing to be coachable? Because if somebody's going to come in and they're just going to kind of sit back and not pay attention and not do the work, they're not being coachable. Or if they're going to get defensive instead of taking something on or considering something, you know, here's a viewpoint that you might not have until now. Are you willing to take it on, or are you going to disregard it and not move whatever's getting in the way?
Absolutely. It's amazing how all these things are connected. And Tom and I were talking about self-development on my last show, and it was just great and exciting because it is my passion with self-development. First, you need to know within yourself those questions that you have right here. Are you willing to pay the price to get to know yourself finally? If you start with that within, it's amazing what's going to come out.
Well, and the beautiful part is that you are on your own journey. You know, you're able mentally to just hone in on what you do. It doesn't mean you're disregarding people, but you see something that nobody else is there to see, and you shouldn't have to tell them about it, right? If they inquire and they're interested in it, that's one thing. but you shouldn't have to justify yourself for where you need to be because you see something that nobody else does. Well, they have their life, you have your life, and where you want to be is yours. You know, it's not like, okay, well, I'm not questioning where you want to be in life. It's just not where I want to be. They're
Yeah.
mutually exclusive. And so, Lynn, when pay the price, what shows up for you when you think about that?
Knowing that my inner voice told me where I want to go and
Mhm.
not listening to my own compass,
Mhm.
because I was trying to have those kind of relationships that didn't fit or weren't supportive to me,
Yeah.
and to let go of the fact that people will be attracted to me that need to be in my life. And what Tom said, successful people do, they don't go share with everybody their goals and their visions. They don't need to. That's what successful people do. They see their vision because they understand. They don't want anybody to tell them they can't. They'll have all these different things to put in their head to tell them why they can't or why they can. And we talked about that before, but it's truly makes sense to say, you know what? I'm going to do this because if I do this and I fail or not, I don't have debris from either way. But I'm going from, like we said, leaving LA to go to New York. You know, you've got the concordance to do that. Well, then do it. And it's not always, direct or not, but eventually you might have to stop for some reason, you know, for fuel over here, or you might have to stop because of the weather. You might have this, you might be diverted, blah, blah, blah. But your mission still is, for the foreseeable, is to get to New York from LA.
Correct.
Or
And
LA to New
and
York.
you're open to like how long it's going to take, roadblocks, vehicle failures, repairs. Who knows where it may take you, but you're open to that because that's the
That's
way
right.
life works. It's unpredictable, right? We don't know what's
Right.
going to happen, but are we embracing that or are we minimizing that?
And you know what Tom brought up for me, and it's great to say right now, is that I allowed my mother, and my brother's passing to derail me from where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
I truly did. I stopped to grieve for basically this month will be 5 years. And what did that serve me? It didn't serve me. It did and it didn't, because I worked on myself through that side, So now I'm picking my ass up and saying, "Hey, Lynn, get back to what you need to do." My brother motivated me or inspired me for all my life. And it's like, now I need to, inspire and get off my, insecurities. And there's not all the time in my life that I had insecurities, but it's the people I put myself around that kept me in my insecurities.
Right.
And I don't do that lately.
You bring up a very good point, Liz, and
Liz,
let's go,
okay.
Lynn. Let's go with that from a standpoint of you witnessed your brother pass away, and my dad. This is a classic example right here. Is that okay? Willing to pay the price to go through that person is no longer living, all the grief, all the heartbreak, all of it, right? Are you willing to pay the price that you're going to do it once? You're going to face everything head on. Now, if you're not willing to pay the price, that means you crawl underneath the rock. You disregard it. You feel like it's going to go away. I think that example, as profound as it is, speaks to everything. You either face it head on and whatever it might happen, or you don't.
What helped me though, it was either, Lynn, is that the way after your brother taught you about being a God-fearing guy and being musical and all these things he's taught you, and your mother, good or bad or this or that? I mean, is that allow you to honor them in a way that I'm carrying the torch for our family and for impacting people that I admire for my brother? It's like, hell no, that's definitely not a way to honor people. And that's why I love my shows, because it's to honor and respect all those people that help fill in. It's like when you're building something that's cracked, you use decoupage or you use whatever to fill in the cement or glue or whatever. It's the fabrics of our life, and then the people that come in and help those crevices of where you just weren't fulfilled, realizing that we have everything in us, and realizing, Lynn, death was here before COVID. Death is here. Death is here. You've almost died so many times. I mean, you witnessed and you're blessed to be here. You're going to waste that?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to waste that.
Well, and paying the price has to be your way to pay the price, right? That's where all the noise of people that are up in the stands telling what you should be doing on the court, they're not in your head. They're not dealing with your circumstances. And so the minute you allow that in is the minute that you're not free from all of that, but then you're clear for yourself, right? If you're going to, as I was going through grieving over my dad, is that you never forget, right? The pain eventually goes away a little bit, you never forget, but the pain goes a little bit less and less. But the only way that you can do that is grieve your way, not the way that somebody else says you can do it. And that's so important today, because everybody, I only can think the way I think. You can only think the way you think. But the difference is that if somebody's either willing to empathize with my way of thinking and why I do what I do, or they judge it, that's toxic. If somebody judges the way another person thinks without having an awareness of where they are and what they're going through, that's a disservice to that person. That is not love. That's judgment.
And hello, my friend. Unfortunately, we have so much, what words I want to use? We have so much people being restrained every day because of politics and because of things that truly we need to get back to love. We just loving that we have this moment today. And there's so many things we cannot change, but if we can change our hearts in a way we don't judge everything we don't know and take everything we hear say, we would be, so are you willing to pay the price for a relationship in your life through the fact that everything was great in that relationships, and then now you have the politics that are truly ruining something that you had? It's just sad to me. And again, the love and the departure of death, that's final. And I just can't say that enough to people. They need. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Lynn. I interrupted.
I just it doesn't matter. Like you said, this is a great question. When I think here, are you willing to pay the price for your relationships in the times that we are in? This is really powerful, and it's speaking to me so much, Brian, because I cannot believe, when I'm thinking as a whole collectively, why don't we have stations right now talking about what we're talking about as far as what are you willing to pay? Like, shake these people up, get them out of their own way. There's so much regret. I've seen so many people be remorseful at funerals because they were so freaking hard-headed.
Yeah. And I shared this in a previous show, but one of the best things my ever dad said to me, before he passed away, being an only child, is that, Brian, the reason why I was hard on you, raising you with your mom, is because I wanted you to thrive in life. That you answer your own questions. You make it happen, right? And there is no magical pill in this world. And I think that one of the things that we shared in the show right off the bat is that we're not here to change or any of that. We're not here to cause a controversy. We're here to have you be accountable to something and move it in a forward direction, topic by topic, show by show. We don't have all the answers, but if you're willing to engage with us, you might find something that you didn't see before, because we're willing to go there. Vulnerable, open, honest, and real.
And you know what came up earlier, but by the time you said what you said and reminded me you're an only child. Yep. Okay, I'll say this and it'll come however, but I think you'll get my point. It's like, let's look at a dog, for example. 6 weeks with their parents. After that, see ya. Yep. See ya.
Yep.
Their siblings, they don't see their siblings unless the owner wants to keep one, and then you got a sibling, but maybe not. And the mom, dad, that's just like everybody else. And then there's us. We keep our kids till they're 18 and they're like, bye, graduate, leave the nest, right? But in life, you don't have that choice sometimes, because a parent leaves or a parent only had one child like you. Mm-hmm. So the perspective is, it is truly we shouldn't be codependent on anybody else for our personal thinking. We should be dependent on our own compass. And I guess that's a blessing for you because your dad did instill you that this is the only one I had in the litter, and I'm not going to be around, and I'm going to have to be tough, hard, and he's not going to understand half the things I'm telling him until sometime in life, you know? And it's just one of those things where it's sad that, you know, sometimes you don't see the fruition of your children because you pass, but you definitely hope that they do get it and understand. And even, you know, I spoke in a clubhouse thing, and I think I brought this up before in the show, but I think it's worth saying. This girl was like talking about how her and her mom don't get along, and I said, well, you know, you're blessed to fix that while she's still alive because you're not going to have chances later. Ask her the questions you want to ask her and get the answers you need now because you're blessed to have that opportunity. And she's like, you're right. I said, you don't have any children yet. You're not going to understand what she's hard on you because you don't have any children yet. You have children to realize that you got to teach them these skills. It's really, really important.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know how you feel. How do you feel about the fact that you know, you only child, and I'm talking about the puppy that gets away from their parents. I mean, can you relate, or am I way off cuff?
No, I can relate. And the thing that shows up for me is something that you triggered because you talked about Christmas, you know, and is that for me that the greatest gift you can give to another person is yourself, your time, right? And I know that there's a part of Christmas and the holidays that deals with, you know, consumerism and commercialism and all of that. And I'm not a big fan of that, right? And when I was recovering from my car accident, I was just watching the TV on a Black Friday, and I'm in my jammies, and you know, I'm just watching, you know, people, you know, the first hour for the doorbusters going to the national TV coverage, and people are trampling over each other for the 1 hour special, right? To get a TV for $2 or whatever. Right. And then they did a shot over a big time mall in Wisconsin, you know, with a helicopter and everything. And I thought to myself, I said, how many of these people are spending endless amounts of money on somebody, you know, just because it's what they do for Christmas, but what they really want is a really close relationship with love with that person. They've, you know, that they have a struggle, they have not overcame their indifferences, and so they just throw money at it. Like, hey, here's your gift, but I'm not going to say a word to you. Knowing that the greatest gift is having that person in their life, and that paying the price is having that deep conversation where you might be hearing things you don't want to hear, or where you're not accountable, right? You didn't speak your mind. You weren't self-expressed. You didn't do what you say you were going to do. Mm-hmm. And it's just crazy that people will spend money on other people, like in a holiday scenario, but they won't do the one thing that's free and just take some time. And that's to work out their differences and have that person in their life from that moment forward.
Yeah. Brian, we've got audience here, and I want to ask them a little bit that what are you willing to pay the price for? I mean, like, or has this brought anything up for you that you could think about that you haven't thought about willing to pay the price? Because that's
one of the easiest ways that I found to address this question is think of a topic or an area of your life, and then, you know, what is the area of your life, and then what's getting in the way, right? Like whether it's writing a book, or, you know, it could be a myriad of different things, but what is that thing, you know, that you're willing to pay the price for? So it's or maybe even look at like the end goal. What's the end goal that I'm willing to pay the price on, and then backtrack it, you know?
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I was staring here at that question from yesterday. Yep. What's one thing there's that damn, I can't, you disrupting.
Disrupting.
I can't, it's my accent. Disrupting. Let's never have anybody named Stuart on the show either. So names is something, or Paul. It's just like,
Paul. Hey, Paul.
Let's
do it without moving your whole chin, you know, Paul.
So anyways, I just disrupted my thought because I'm thinking of how to say something. Anyways, I got color on my face today.
Yeah,
Doggy.
so to all of our viewers, share with us. Just post this. Help us out in terms of
Yeah.
what's one thing or one area of your life that it's like you have a vision in mind, an outcome that you want to achieve, and what are you paying the price for? What are you willing to do what it takes? Like if you want to get a degree, what are you doing to, it's kind of like, I want to get my master's. Okay. Have you taken the entrance exam? No. Like what steps are you putting into place? What are you willing to do to pay the price? Like if you want to write a book, what are you doing to move that forward?
It's funny.
Because a lot of these are day by day. They're not just, I'm going to allocate this time and then it's done.
So, Brian, what if we twist this around to our guests and say, or to our audience and say, this is January 12th already. Did you make a resolution and not keep it? What are you willing to pay the fact that you told people that you were going to have a resolution and you didn't do it? Have you asked yourself that question? Are you not willing to pay the price to keep your word to yourself? Yeah. I mean, Brian, do you try to keep your words to yourself?
Absolutely.
Or do you make promise to yourself? Was there a time that?
Absolutely.
Was there a time?
There was moments in my life where I would think everything, but no action would ever come out.
Yeah, you see.
Like when I lived when I lived with my ex, my brain was so filled with thinking, but my brain was paralyzed to no action.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think that's another thing in my school that I'm going to do. I'm manifesting. I'm going to have a school someday, and hopefully it's in America. Hopefully I don't have to go to another country to do this, but I'd like to have a school for children. And so I definitely would love for them to express themselves naturally how they are, and willing to do the things that they want, because some parents don't want their kids to be a musician. They don't want them to be an actor. They don't want them to do this and that. They want just the doctors and the lawyers and the whatever. But we're in a new world too. Everything and anything, I think, is open up to being truly whatever you want in this world right now.
So
more so than ever.
So right here and right now, Lynn, what are a couple areas that you're paying the price on? Right here and right now, boom, bring it on the cord for all of us. What are a couple areas that, concisely that you're paying the price on, or will be in the future?
Paying the price is what I worried about, and this is being really vulnerable. What I worried about came about, and that was I had a part-time job that I really enjoyed, but I would leave it because I was more concerned about having enough money to pay my mortgage.
Yep.
And truth be told, because of health issues, and I've got to be very careful with my lungs being compromised around, a lot of things. I lost that job anyways. And so I've been dealing since March with something that I was really worried to do. Now, mind you, financially, I'm not where I want to be right now, but I'm not worried about that because I pay my mortgage. That's all that matters to me. So the price I'm paying now is actually asking myself the questions: what do I want out of my life? What do I want to do? I want to bring love to the world. I want to tell people to stop the petty stuff and let's just love. Even when you don't love to hate, just love to love. And having these shows to show being raw and real, we may not be perfect, but we want to help other people. A lot of people go, Lynn, I can't even believe you're doing shows, or, you enunciate wrong, or this or that. I don't care. I get neurological problems and I can't, or my Long Island accent or my Puerto Rican. It's like, you know what? That's the comedy relief in it all because I have challenges, but those challenges are not define me anymore. The fact that, I had a manager there that she just kept me down, but I loved being around the people. For my depression, it was I needed to physically be with people, and now I get to spend time with people. I think that's why I love having a co-host or a host, because I do love interacting with people. And now I realize that I don't need to be defined by there. So I was willing to pay a price of just being here, giving out love. And, I'm not asking for monetary anything. Whatever happens, happens. My shows are going to be real successful because people that need us, I'm showing up for the people that need me to show up. especially for myself. So I'm willing to pay the price of being vulnerable this year, because my vulnerability, I got in that clubhouse and I'm telling things and stories that, gosh, you guys, I mean, when I realize everything I've gone through, it's really enforcing. I'm going to have to write a short book and a story about my life and just leave it there on the pages. But you inspire me. I mean, to do this show, you keep me accountable to myself, and I can't thank you enough for that, Brian. Can't thank you for asking me these questions. So again, I want to ask you the same question. Right now, what is it for you?
Sure. Number one is my education. Fully transparent, my education, the peaks and valleys of confronting myself, which we had in a previous show, right? Is that how am I going to show up on video? What am I going to do with my time to be ready for the training I'm about to take? Number two is my development with video, right? With virtual selling, with doing more videos, speaking extemporaneously with humor and comedy and just improvising in the moment, right? Number three is taking all of my content. Like after all these years, I don't know when it was, but it was a couple of weeks ago where somebody said something and I'm like, holy crap, I have a lot of content, things that I've wrote for my industry, things that I've wrote, that is my voice for the wedding industry, for events, right? And when I looked at it, I'm like, holy crap. I looked at it from a different lens and I'm like, I got to bring all that to video. And we're talking like 20 to 40-second video clips, short, concise, manageable bites for people, and it's not about selling anything. It's about giving a point of view. It's about sharing with somebody something that they get to think about.
Absolutely. And that's just it. I mean, we all got to live, and we all, need to be supported to do what we're doing and bring in. That's not even what I was talking about, but absolutely the value you have is really important to share with the world.
Yep.
And if you're putting passion and time, you should be commended for that as well.
And there's number four is how personalized can I get with my relationships? How personal, like of the couples I've served and their families, how personal can I make all of those interactions be? Like for birthdays, anniversaries, they buy a new house, they have a child. How personalized can I make that acknowledgement? Is it a lot of work? Heck yeah. But if you're doing anything big, it is going to be a lot of work, but you're okay with that, right? Because you see something that, and the beautiful part is none of it's about me. It's about how they feel. The longest standing customer that I keep in contact with is 20 to 25 years. Now, am I asking them to, hey, if you know of anybody? Absolutely not. The intention is to acknowledge them for whatever it is. If it's a birthday, an anniversary, if their grandchildren had a child or whatever that is, that's how I've been trained. And then lastly is my full self-expression, is to go all in on how much of a disruption I am. The health crisis that was going on in our world took some industries out, right? Like the touring industry, special events, all of that has been taken out because of this thing. And now is the time to emerge free and clear of anything before. So that's what I'm going all in on and willing to pay the price and not know what it's going to bring, but I know inside of my heart that I'm where I need to be.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm excited about us doing the show, because we already know where we want to go with this. Yeah. And the progression on us asking these questions that I know later people will look at our first few videos and say, oh my gosh, they were really goofy, polished, blah, blah, blah. We're not trying to be perfect. We're just trying to show up, first of all. And I think we're trying to invoke these things in ourselves so that we can catapult each other to that next level. And that's what I'm so excited about this. And I love this, Brian, because we're asking things to ourselves, and we're basically let the audience see that between us. And I'm super excited. So if you guys are watching, and I've got quite a few of what you watching right now, you little stalkers, stop being stalkers. Let us know that,
chime in.
What are you willing? Yeah. Don't be afraid. I mean, we know you're watching us, and that's okay. We're not trying to perform for you. We'd love to have your perspective or your thought on this. That would be great. So are you wanting to go into the question for tomorrow?
I think we can talk a
Or
little bit more about, this whole thing, you know,
pay the
maybe
price?
not. I mean, maybe we've covered it already, but I think it's such a big and vast conversation that, you
So,
know,
so let me ask you this then.
yeah,
What are the things that have frustrated you, or what's the desire in talking about this topic? You must be like, you don't hold any judgment, and I know that, but in the people you've known, you must have some overview and some insight of knowing what they need to do to pay that price.
yeah.
And I know you probably hold your tongue on there, but we're real and raw here. So without not mentioning no names, but if
No,
you want to go ahead and say how you would say to a couple per se,
sure.
are you guys willing to pay this price? I mean, what things would you give them to think about? That
Sure. Is number one, like if it was a wedding couple, for instance, is that are you fully committed to having the wedding you never knew you could have? Big question. Okay. Number two is that how close are you with the conversations you're having with each other, right? Because if you're not having conversations with each other, or maybe one long conversation, whatever that is, about what you want most out of your wedding, right? What do you want to have happen? It's got to go deep if it's really going to do any good, right? Because what I'm not talking about, and this is a part of the wedding and live events industry, is that they talk about the things, right? The individual features and benefits, but that's not where the success of a wedding lies, right? That's just like saying somebody wants to build a house and they're looking at the general contractor. It's like, ooh, he's got a skill saw, he's got a sawzall. The tools don't make the house. The expertise, the trust, and working at it day by day with the architect and all of that. And then ultimately, you're paying for that house, you're paying for that yard. And when it
and
comes to a wedding, you're paying for an outcome, you're paying to be served, you're paying for expertise, you're paying for a point of view. You're not paying for the noise. Like when you go to a nice restaurant, you got me fired up, Lynn, because this is something I think about all day, every day, and I continue to hone that, right? But after you go through it in a deep way and you continue to have those deep conversations, it becomes very clear and simple, right? But if you don't do the work, you're never going to get the clarity. And so when you go to a nice steakhouse, right? You don't you don't ask them, you don't ask them like, oh, are you using garlic butter? Are you using this? Are you using that? You're going there because you want to have a great steak. You want to have a great dining experience, right? And then you trust that they're going to deliver upon that by reviews and recommendations. And so what couples need to be very clear on is like what their wedding is for. Now that might be implied that they love each other and all that, but it's a serious question because if that was the case, it's very inexpensive to have a wedding if it's at the courthouse, right? To make it official is, depending on your state, is less than $100. But it's like how you interpret your wedding experience. That's the full circle part of it, right? And the hamster wheel. When couples get into a hamster wheel, that's one of the most toxic and poisonous places to be. And what I'm referring to the hamster wheel is that you get overwhelmed with wanting plans really quickly because you don't know who's important to you. You don't know what your vision is, right? So when a couple sacrifices not having conversations about what they envision their wedding, taking their time, making sure that they've done all the work so they have a strong foundation. When couples don't do that, they go in polar opposites in terms of how they experience their wedding. And this is not something you're going to find in any bridal magazine.
I just wrote this up. Are you
You're
willing to
welcome.
live with your regret for not willing to pay the price?
Yeah. You know,
I think that should stir something in people's heads. What do you think, Brian?
absolutely.
Because
100%.
if you did not read the reviews about that steakhouse,
Right.
you may end up with some regrets,
Well, and here's
right?
another thing too, is that what we said on yesterday's topic about the cost of
Yeah.
inaction, right? If somebody has an opportunity to reserve a certain professional, right? that they're
Right.
going to be the ones that are going to deliver that outcome. And they're going to give you their word that they're going to reach inside of you, in your mind and in your heart, to pull out your love story, to pull out your personalities and who you really are, and start from a blank piece of paper, a blank canvas. They're holding themselves to a higher standard than anybody that's just, checking boxes and doing that. Now, when you have an opportunity to reserve that person, you better do it, because as I'm learning, a lot of people don't talk about what happens if you don't take action. You're not going to have me a part of your wedding. The outcome might not be what you want, and you may definitely not have the personalization of that day.
And what about the people that are, it's real and raw, so I'm going to say it. What about the phony couples that come to you and be like, acting like everything's really hunky dory and they're happy and they're just half-ass share their story with you? Well, hello, you are willing to live with regret because it is not Brian's fault that you didn't tell him about that one time you cheated or whatever. I mean, or whatever. Like Brian needs to know if you had some kind of whatever in your marriage, like, or soon to be. Like, you need to be for real, people, because if you ain't going to be real, the outcome is going to be crap. Good example. If you're going to go to that restaurant, you're not going to tell them that you have a food allergy, which I've got to worry about nitrates. Okay. So, I've got to worry about chicken that's been marinated, So sometimes I have to go with the fried chicken because it's not marinated, right? So if I don't tell them about marination and the problem with that, when I get that steak, it's not their fault that I'm going to have a migraine. It's my fault because I did not. I'm going to pay the price for not checking in on my condition and making sure that it's done right. Exactly. I love analogies. Sorry, I gotta bring it that way, but it's true. It's up to me. And I forget. My kids have even gotten really good at, when we go to a restaurant or something, because I don't really try to make wave, and I don't always try to remember all my different conditions, but I'll order something and my kids will say, "Mom, you can't have that," because they see the price I pay for it with my health. And so that's a great analogy for me to say that I do regret a lot of times when I don't feel good. My kids, because they've lived all their life with a condition that went undiagnosed for me. So they have learned to say, "Mom, no, you can't." And sometimes I don't know for a whole day, you guys. Mm-hmm. My stomach doesn't digest. So I sometimes don't know for a whole 24 hours of what the outcome's going to be. And it can be a deathly kind of situation. But again, the regrets, just like my asthma, I don't go around with my inhaler and I realize it's a regret. Mm-hmm. So I've learned to make sure to cover for those regrets. And that's just like in life. Are you willing to pay the price to not look at the cards you're dealt with and change them? I mean, I can't change my lungs. I can't change my food stuff, but those are the provisions I need to make that I forget. And I guess I'm vulnerable here to say that. And it just reminds me, because I had a shake 2 hours before to go get my granddaughter yesterday. I was deathly sick. So now I have to realize I can't eat before I pick up my granddaughter from school. I mean, these are things that they say, what are you willing to pay the price? And I'm not going to take a chance having my granddaughter and getting in a car accident because I'm sick.
Well, and plus, like when it comes to a wedding scenario, is that for me, I just had a talk with my therapist, about this so she could understand what I do, right? Because there was some things that popped up. It's like they've never done this before, and I don't even know if we're a good fit, right? If there's a connection, because if we don't have a connection, that's like a house that doesn't have a basement, right? If you don't have a foundation and you're going to work intimately close together on one of the most emotional days of their life, if you don't have that as a foundation, you really don't have anything. And then you're holding those people accountable to deliver results that they may or may not know about. Now, that's a combination of a lack of connection and also, though, having the necessary questions to ask. But there's a distinction here, is that being happy and being real. There's a distinction there, is because there is a lot of work. If you want to do a wedding well, that is amazing and people are going to talk about it for a long time, it's a lot of work. There is no, there's no minimizing that, right? There's a lot of pieces. If you want people to feel and you want it to be emotionally drawn in for everybody just to relate and connect, it's going to take a lot of work. But there's a distinction between the happiness of it, where it's like, it's, as all the propaganda and wedding magazines portray, in the real world, how are we going to create that moment? That doesn't happen on its own, right? If you want an amazing emotionally charged first dance, that's not going to happen on its own without talking about it. And now there's a couple distinctions. All of us don't know what we don't know. I don't know what I don't know about weddings. They don't know what they don't know about weddings. But we're on this journey together, and it's impossible for somebody to help you if you're not willing to engage and allow them to help you. There's a lot of pieces that are going on here when it comes to a wedding scenario. Yes.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So have you ever found that you had a couple that you just totally, you felt disconnected to them, that you had to like say, I can't help you?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Now,
and
here's the thing. This is not about arrogance or ego.
No.
This is about credibility, working with the right people, and also, though, being honest with myself, regardless if I'm, any dollars, I don't, granted, I have to pay my bills and make a profit, but money is not going to return people that expecting something from me that I can't deliver upon, right? That doesn't necessarily mean I'm not good at what I do. It just means that I'm not working with the right person.
I have another question.
Yes.
So have you been able to differentiate between your personal experience to a experience you can see in a couple that trigger you from feeling? I mean, have you had to back away from that?
Can you go deeper with that?
Okay, so a good example. All of a sudden you feel like this couple's reminding you of your past relationship, and you hear the trigger words of what they're saying or what they're doing, and you then feel like there's not a connection for you to help them.
No.
Or do you try to get to know them to make sure they're a good fit so that you can go forward to help them with their wedding? Is that something that how you evaluate it?
That's where we start.
Yeah. Okay.
If
well,
there's
that's good.
resistance to that, if if they're not open to that, that's okay. But I'm taking a stand for the types of events that I know I can create, and people have said, this is where I start. We start with a connection. If we have one or we don't. If we don't, that's okay. But I'm not committing to giving all of my time and effort from months to years and putting in hundreds of hours potentially for something that I don't know if we're a good fit. Right. Or if we have a connection, or, the types of relationships that I create with all my couples. Now, it's not for everybody. Is where after the wedding is done, and I just did one of these last week, is that after the wedding, we can reconvene, have a meal together, we can have a couple drinks, and we can just talk about what everybody thought about the wedding. That's not for everybody. I get that. But what a wedding can be is going to extend and challenge you to get inside of here versus settling for what you've always seen, because that's comfortable,
So have you had people come to you and with regret of their wedding that you've had to live with?
Yeah.
But can you feel like it's been kind of their fault? Which, by the way, down in the road, I'd love to have a show about all this wedding stuff. Sure. But right now, I just wanted that. So
question. There's one scenario that came to mind. Is that a couple of years ago, I had a maid of honor call me up, and she goes, "Hey, my friend is getting married, and I'm going to send her to you." And I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you," and all of that. And we didn't end up working together, right? And she called me up after, and she said the wedding didn't go as planned, and all of this. And I said, "I'm sorry, it didn't work out." And she said something to the degree of like, "Well, don't you have compassion or whatever for the couple?" And I'm like, no, there was no decision to have me a part of the wedding. Why should I feel compassion for something that happens, right? Not every professional is committed to the customer's best interest. Not every professional is committed to a talent, a skill set, and delivering the best experience possible. Not every professional is about that in business. And I said things to her that I saw down the pipeline. And sure enough, those things happened. I was being real with her, but I no longer live my life by, they had a choice. They didn't make the choice to have me a part of their wedding. It doesn't mean I look at them any less or any more than before. They just made a choice and it didn't work out.
Which just brings me back to my point in that, and you answered it perfectly, was that people need to understand, you need to sometimes say, if you can't ask yourself what you're willing to pay the price for, ask yourself, what are you willing to live with as far as regret for not asking and paying the price?
Yeah.
So,
and
I think
there's so much about this whole thing that ties into, it doesn't matter your industry, from weddings or physical fitness. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with in life. There's always an opportunity to do the work, pay the price, live with regret, and if you can disrupt that day by day, and so that eventually that little voice in your head gets a little weaker, you're making progress.
so. Brian, we ready for the question
Yes,
for
we are.
tomorrow?
Yeah, pop it up there for everyone.
All right, go
So
for it.
over the next, until our show tomorrow, a question that we have for you is share with us. Either it could be private or it could be right here. We want to hear from you. Share one way you are paying the price in life and disrupting the status quo. Now, the status quo is people around you, or maybe in your business environment, that's where the lowest common denominator is, right? What are you doing above and beyond that? Share with us one way that you're paying in the price in life, whether it's writing a book, starting an online course, taking a body of training, getting in better health, creating a whole new diet, whatever that is for you. Share with us one of those ways.
That's awesome. Boy.
Woo!
Paying the price in life is just, that's gonna be good. And so what's our topic gonna be then?
We'll put that in the announcement for tomorrow.
Oh, okay. That's a good way to tease them. So our topic is to be announced in the announcement when I make that tonight. That will be good.
It's one that is another one that will be a little bit confronting, but if you're willing to take it on, it'll open up things. I think it's a contention of the way that we're wired as human beings. If we're able to just stop our brain and take something on, it'll open up some things.
That's awesome. You guys, we're asking some tough questions at the beginning of the year here. It will be fun. We appreciate you being on here. We guarantee that we'll get subscribers later that'll be like, I need to go look at the beginning episodes and you'll see how deep we got on these. But I do appreciate our viewers that keep watching and seeing us go where we plan to go here. Oh, wait, we got a message. Oh, Sandy, I love you. We love having you here. And Sandy, we are going to chat here really soon because I really want to prod her for things that she wants us to talk about, because she's just,
she's one of our loyal peeps.
We're going to have to do a backstage get together with her. And that'll be awesome. We are willing to do that sometimes, you guys. We'll give up our backstage time recording to actually spend time with you and let us know what you're thinking or whatever. First, even if we do that with you guys, we wouldn't say, okay, we had a conversation with Sandy. We would just say we had a conversation with, a viewer. We wouldn't put you out there, but we would definitely, we want to be of service to you guys, and we want to be compelled to be raw about the things that are brought to our attention.
And I think we could go one step further. If Sandy's up for it, let's bring her on the show and have a 3-way discussion one time.
Oh, that would, and that would be my next thought, Brian, is for you and I to talk to her and then have her on the show, because she's just an amazing lady. So that would be exciting.
Let's do it. Sandy, looking at your calendar.
We'll be tapping your messenger here really soon. Oh, we love it. We love it. Is there any other questions?
No, just a couple other thoughts is that whenever we're looking at paying the price, I just jotted down a couple notes that I didn't want to forget before we leave for today, is The only person it has to make sense to about paying the price is you. You don't have to answer to anybody else. As long as inside of your heart that it's where you need to be and where it's telling you to be, and you're honest with yourself, that's where you should go. And then the second one is something that Jeffrey Gitomer says. It's one of his famous quotes: no risk, no nothing. If you're not willing to take a
what
risk,
I just thought of?
nothing's going to happen.
I love this part, Brian. Can you imagine raw and real with your own compass? Not nobody else's, but your own.
Oh, yeah.
That just came to myself. Great job. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that goes credit to Brian. I gotta put my hat to Brian. He just we're such a great team together. I'm blessed and I'm so thankful for you every day.
My pleasure. And likewise.
You make
Sandra, Sandra and everybody else, thank you for being our loyal viewers. We would not be this would be just two people talking without all of you joining us. So we're very grateful for you.
We are, absolutely. It goes without saying. Without them, we would be nothing.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. So anytime, feel free to message me about topics and stuff. I shouldn't put this out there, Brian, but I'm going to.
Go ahead. Come on.
I guarantee that if people want to challenge us with topics,
do it.
I think we'd put them in a jar, kahuna, and we would just say, okay, we're going to do whatever one of these things are. So I think maybe when we get the first 10 or 5, I don't know, 5, no, 10, let's push 10 or 5. We get the first 5 people that send us questions. We get a total of 5. We'll start putting them in a jar. And maybe on hump day, maybe in the middle of the week, we just break things up and we just go with one of those questions or topics and not be prepared. Well, if you guys think that's a great idea, let me know. I think it's a great idea.
I love it. We talked about a little bit of this, but also though, like, hey, maybe like 3 topics for one session. And we picked out 3 pieces of paper with a word written in each, right? So your suggestions, and we ask you for a number, 1, 2, or 3, and we'll go through 3 topics. So maybe every 15 or 20 minutes, we talk about another topic. So it's always moving. You never know where we're going. We're unpredictable. And that's what we want.
Yes, that's what we want. So, I love how we get, so this is what we do backstage, you guys. We get freaking really creative. And so now we're now it's finally coming to fruition here, Ryan. And it's going to be fun. Because I've even got, I want to do giveaways down the road and things like that too. So I'm pretty excited about this. So you guys have a great day. I think we're peacing out on here. And thank you. And I'm excited. I'm excited for tomorrow. We are goofs. We're goofs. And we're letting everybody know. We don't care.
We don't even need to do a TikTok video to dance. So we're good.
It's like a plan, guys. Stick to the unpredictable.
Sounds like a plan, guys. Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what we want to be. We want to be unpredictable. Absolutely, because it's not good if you think you know what's going to go on. All right, you guys, have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. Stay right there, Brian.